in the 4-day program, while we are working on the therapeutic side and the educational side of addiction and how it impacts families and particularly the children, we are also doing self-esteem building games, leadership games. We have lots of fun and positive activities so that the kids can start to develop a sense of self and have grown-ups in the room absolutely reaffirm how wonderful they are. So along with our group rules, and one of our group rules is put-ups only, and the staff are just phenomenal at catching every great thing the kid does. Except for the parentified children, they're not allowed to help. That's really hard because they want to erase the board or bring the food, and you have to tell them to sit down, and they're confused because that's how they feel needed. But the I'm a Star exercise allows kids to identify what they're good at, what makes them special. You know, in homes with addiction, no one's really talking about that. So children in addicted families are not responsible for another's recovery. So that just continues the same pathology about everyone pointing the finger at everybody else and no one just taking care of the self, right? So they need to receive their own recovery and support. Again, the program is arming kids with the tools and information they need to make healthy choices for themselves because they can, right? So clarify what happened to him or her and the family and start to repair some of the psychic damage and empower them to heal whether the parent recovers or not. So a really important component to this program is relapse and understanding what a relapse is because we've explained what the disease is. When I look at a group of kids and I say, if I gave you a stick of gum and could you chew it just once? And they all say no. And then I say, well, that's what it's like for mom or dad, right? And then their eyes get big and they're like, oh, that's hard, right? Or when I equate the disease of addiction to having a peanut allergy, they get it. Because even though one of their friends doesn't eat peanuts, if they do touch a peanut, they can get real sick. It's the same thing with addiction. And when you start to explain addiction in terms that kids understand and can relate to, such a relief, right? Because then they get to see literally it has nothing to do with them, right? So empowering them to heal and talking about relapse and how when a parent has the allergy, they're always going to have the allergy, and how it runs in families, and so maybe they might have the allergy too, and they might find out one day that they really like alcohol or drugs, and what then, right? So we're talking about the future. I mean, 7 to 13, I took my first drink at 11. I smoked my first joint at 12. I started doing street drugs at 15. You know, they're not that far off from these choices. And let's face it, they're probably all going to make them, because the Just Say No campaign has already shamed them and their family. That's a personal opinion. And they have the right to make those choices because not everyone does get an addiction. How come I got one and you didn't? That's not fair. You get to enjoy a glass of wine. I've never wanted a glass of wine in my life. I want the bottle, right? So supporting parents and parenting in recovery is an important part of the program. So when parents are down the hall for those 4 days, they're not talking about their addiction. They're not talking about the impacts of the addiction on them or what happened to them. They are learning with in the same way, activities, videos, sharing, and information, what it's been like for the child. The whole 4 days is child-centered, and the parents are blown away because what they thought was protecting and what they thought was keeping their child safe was keeping them in the dark and was co-signing the BS, right? Co-signing that silence. And so moving the family towards having open communication about the elephant in the living room is a huge, huge, huge achievement for the program by the end of it.